and the markets around us. That's Dollars and Cents, Thursday afternoons at 4, here on WSIC.
The following is a paid program and does not necessarily reflect the views of WSIC.
Welcome to Community Centered, a show that features people in the community doing good things. Now, here are your hosts, Debbie O'Handley and Margi Kyle.
Welcome, welcome. Hi, Margie.
Hey, how are you?
Happy Tuesday. And it's a hot one.
It is, but
so
it's always cool in here.
That's always cool. Thank you for that. That's true. It always is. Bill's wearing his sweatshirt, freezing in there. Well, I'm, again, delighted. I can't believe how fast the weeks go and that we are almost at the end of June and thinking about 4th of July. But how was your weekend? What'd you do?
I went to the Ada Jenkins Juneteenth celebration.
Very cool.
It was fabulous.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I was out of town. I had that on my calendar for a while. I was going to be attending, but we went outside to D.C. to go visit our daughter and son-in-law. So made a quick trip.
Good.
Made a quick trip down. And, I was thinking as we got closer to D.C. and the tolls were $40.90. I was thinking...
it's not so bad here.
Exactly. I was thinking, gosh, all those people that complain, $4.90. I'm thinking, $40.90, was that a typo?
Wow.
But it wasn't. So that's just the difference in the areas. But we had a lovely weekend. As you know, our daughter is pregnant with our first grandbaby.
Oh, and there's nothing more exciting.
So awesome. And so Granddad painted the nursery while my daughter and I shopped. And
what color did you paint?
Well, I knew you were going to ask. It's sort of a lavendery neutral blue, or she has a little sun, moon, star theme thing going on. And then we got a very soft green recliner for her to go in there. So
babies cry more in yellow rooms.
Well, thank God we didn't paint it yellow.
Yeah. So
I hope a few other listeners are listening to that, not to paint things yellow. But yellow's a happy color, though, isn't it?
It is, but... and babies see pink first. That's the color they see.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I've always said that's why girls are smarter than boys.
Absolutely.
But only for a little while, and then they catch up to us.
There you go. Well, we've been thrown into this media technology world with the whole thing, right? So there's an app now, and the app tells you, this week, baby is blah, blah, blah. And it is right on target with everything that our daughter is experiencing. And I'm assuming the baby. And I always think, what is the technology that knows that this week its eyelashes are forming? Or, wow, it's just mind-blowing.
Oh, my God, that's too much information.
How did you and I ever survive 9 months of not knowing anything and just giving birth to our children? So we're super excited about that. And so I missed that Ada Jenkins thing, but I know tomorrow is a federal holiday and there are a lot of closings.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think the post office, banks, I think Ada Jenkins, in fact, is closed.
Yeah.
And a few other of our non-for-profit friends are closed as well. We never close. So, we're always open.
Yeah,
but
we are too.
It's kind of a day to just reflect and think about a world to live in peace. So we'll hope for that we all take a pause tomorrow and think about peace in our community and in our world. What else? What else is going on?
Well, and I met an interesting new nonprofit, which I gave them your name.
Thank you.
Books on the House. And it is a mobile library where they give you the books
Very
free.
cool. Very
Free.
cool.
So if anybody's out there and has a need for books, I know Little Smiles is going to get them going to Levine, Jeff Gordon's Children's Hospital.
Fabulous.
And all the other places that we go to. But it's such a need because books are disappearing and I looked at my grandson's handwriting because he graduated last week, and they don't write in cursive like we and they're not reading real books. Everything's online.
But their
So
fingers are really fast on the keyboard.
yes, they are.
Hmm.
So this was a good, and actually they're going to be on next month.
Fabulous.
We're
I
going
love
to
it.
have them on. So
I love it.
they're doing good things for many, many, many people. And there were a lot of nonprofits out there.
Well, it did my heart good this weekend to hear my daughter say that literacy is very important. And I think she's going to have a literacy themed baby shower. But a side note, she worked for Scholastic Books. And so she understands and appreciates the value of reading. And this is one of those things that we're seeing at Hope House is a lot of illiteracy
Yeah.
in our kids. And it's quite disturbing. So I would love to have them come because I'd love to issue those same kids at Hope House a little bit of a challenge with a
Yes.
reward on
Yeah.
what some summer reading could look like. So that's exciting.
Well, even just going to my grandson's graduation, where they announced, please hold your applause,
Mm-hmm.
hold any comments, any cheering. The first name they called, everybody's standing up, screaming and yelling. And
Oh,
I thought,
wow.
nobody's showing the respect.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And it's sad.
Well, we used to read about that in books, didn't we?
Yeah.
I know. So hopefully we can get these folks here out in the North Meck area and send them to Caterpillar and our friends at Angels and Sparrows, everybody that has any association with kids. I think I was reading the other day that Caterpillar Ministries is getting 75 bagged lunches a day
Wow.
for the children in their community from Angels and Sparrows. So I just want to give a shout out to them. Well done. That is an amazing thing because without the bags of food and bags of hope and such like that during the week, what these kids normally get through school, summer can be a really, really tough time for
Yes.
food and for literacy and learning. So I applaud
We just are
anybody.
not aware
No, we're not.
of how much need there is in
Mhm.
this beautiful Lake Norman area.
Absolutely. We're going to do something about that, Margie.
Yeah.
You and I. Coming up, we're going to be sponsoring some non-for-profits on our show every week. And I
Yes,
think that's a great
yes.
way to keep our listeners informed of ways that they can get involved and be a change maker.
And I will say this is a community that really does volunteer.
Absolutely.
I've always been surprised.
I have too. In fact,
People come out of the woodwork.
sometimes
how
we've had
can
to
I
say
help you?
no
Yeah.
to people because we've had so many requests. So I think that, referring them to our other, I always say, well, reach out to Little Smiles. Maybe Margie needs you to do a drop off or pick up or do something. So we always like a referral to other non-for-profits in our area, but the list is growing.
It is.
So excited to see some of the changes that are happening in our community and the impact that we're making. So
Well, and next week we've got a gentleman coming on to talk about Block, and that's business
leaders
of Charlotte.
very cool.
They had the golf tournament for Little Smiles and gave us over $14,000.
Yahoo!
So, there's so many people out there doing good things.
That's right. And I know I'm excited about our guest today. I know they're leaving an impact in our community on amazing things that they're doing and a much, much needed service. So I know when we come back from break, we'll be introducing her and telling them about the amazing things that they do. So I hope our listeners have pen and paper ready.
Yep.
Or have a photographic memory or something so that they can be taking notes on.
And don't forget to call in if you have a question.
Absolutely. You can call the studio at 844-STUDIO-4 should you have a question after we introduce our guest when we come back from break. I am excited about that.
Me too.
So stay tuned. We will be right back after a studio break and introducing our wonderful Hannah Guerrier to us.
Community centered with W.
begins Monday, June 24th. Morning and afternoon camps for ages 5 to 17 include art, ceramics, paint, and clay. For more information on summer camp programs, visit cainarts.org. That's CAIN arts.org. The Cookout Summer Shootout Series is racing ahead at Charlotte
30
Motor
seconds.
Speedway. The 10-race series night number 4 is on Tuesday, June 25th. Visit charlottemotorspeedway.com for tickets, details, and information. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing
15.
local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
Call 844-CO4 now to join the community-centered discussion with Debbie O'Hanley and Margi Kyle on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome back. I have a question for you, and we're going to come up with a prize. I'm not sure what it is, but Bill said he had an idea for a prize. Call in if you know what WSIC stands for. I had no idea, and we just found out.
I didn't either.
I know. So feel free to call in. You know the number. And let us know what you think it stands for. I am excited about our guest today. We both met Hannah at a meeting last week for North Mech Connect. That's a mouthful. And Hannah came up to both of us and said that she would love to talk about what she does. And Hannah is the Community Engagement Manager for Legal Aid of North Carolina. And that encompasses a whole range of different problems that our residents are having. Violence, homeless, evicted. And so, Hannah, where do you want to start with? What do you do the most of?
Yeah, so Legal Aid of North Carolina is a nonprofit law firm here in North Carolina, and we provide free legal services to individuals across the state on civil matters, and particularly civil matters that impact individual basic needs like safety, shelter, and economic opportunities.
Okay.
So some of the biggest areas we help with are helping domestic violence survivors get protective orders against their abusers, helping tenants who are facing eviction or subsidy termination to stop that and be able to prevent homelessness, helping individuals who are denied government benefits appeal that and attempt to get things like food stamps and SSI and SSDI. And we also have a number of statewide projects that help specific issues. We have our Immigration Pathways for Victims project that helps immigrant survivors of human trafficking and domestic violence get legal status. We have a senior law project that helps seniors get draft simple wills and powers of attorney. And just a whole variety of things.
And I did not know or was not aware that this service existed. I think it is fabulous what you're doing. Here's an organization that saw a need and filled it.
Yeah, on a day-to-day basis at Hope House, we must say we need legal advice at least 6 to 7 times a day, just because of the complicated, barriers our folks have experienced. And so for us, they are just a wonderful wealth of knowledge, even if you can just call or email and say, hey, here's a question for you. So we are so grateful, Hannah, to you and your team for providing what they do to our Mecklenburg County.
And I know, Hannah, you're going to share a phone number where they can reach you.
Yes.
And so that we will
Hannah,
share many times.
Tell us about yourself. Were you practicing law and thought, oh gosh, I want to go work for a non-for-profit and, do some good in the world with some change? Or what was your why?
My why. I went to undergrad and got my degree in public policy, and then knew I wanted to do something in the nonprofit sector. Went to law school, worked in juvenile justice for a little bit, and then happened upon a position, luckily with legal aid, and they kept me around. But it was just, it filled that great gap of being able to help the family as a whole. When you're able to represent a mom who is going through an eviction, um, keep her housing and keep her kids in place and her kids in school so they don't have to transfer.
Yeah.
And just creating that stability for a community is so important. It has so many ripple effects amongst all of our neighbors.
That's incredible. In public policy, God bless, because we have a lot to talk about. So I think that, again, like I said, the work that you're doing is impacting not just one, but many
Mhm.
people
Oh,
in our community. And so, again, kudos to the work that you and your team do out there for us. What surprising, how busy are you?
Oh, goodness, there is more need than we could ever handle.
I can
And so
imagine.
we prioritize cases. Within the housing world, we focus on those who are immediately facing eviction or subsidy terminations. In the family law world, we focus on those who survivors of domestic violence who are trying to get those protective orders um, to secure safety from their abusers. We are one of the top or the largest law firms in North Carolina, even amongst private law firms, and it's still not enough. Uh, we serve all 100 counties. We have about 20 field offices, and last year we impacted over 65,000 individuals via 25,000 cases.
Wow.
and I was on your website, which I was very impressed. And it said on one of the videos that you had a 500,000 requests last year. That's a
Yes.
lot of problems.
Yes. So, unlike criminal law, where defendants who are charged with crimes are entitled to an attorney and to representation, in the civil law world, one, there are a lot more issues. It's not just crimes, it's housing, it's domestic violence, it's family law and child custody, it's government benefits, it's immigration status. So there's a lot more variety of issues, and under the law, individuals aren't entitled to representation at this time. There's no, we call it civil Gideon. Gideon v. Wainwright is the case that provides for criminal representation as a requirement, but there is no civil Gideon. There's no requirement in the civil world, but we try and help as many people as we can because we know that these cases are just as important to creating stability and safety for our
Well,
clients.
and people probably don't even know that you're out there too, that there is help for them, that they aren't
Yeah,
alone. Yeah.
yeah, we do our best to get our name out there and to partner with community organizations so that they can spread the information that we are out there because we want to be standing alongside clients in the courtroom. It's Court is a scary and formal process with its
Yes.
own set of eccentric rules that were imposed by the legal system. And for somebody who is not familiar with that, it can be super intimidating. And I know, at least in, for example, the housing world, I'd say a majority of landlords are represented, whereas a majority of tenants are not.
Mm.
And so it
Yes.
creates this imbalance of
Yeah.
power. And we are there to just help level that playing field and to protect our clients' rights in these various formal legal processes.
I would imagine your work is very satisfying when you get to, a situation like that. I was also thinking that some of the obstacles and barriers you spoke about, one family could be facing multiples of those different barriers. So, unburying, so to speak, the barriers and figuring all that out is got to be incredibly difficult, but also extremely rewarding in the end to know
Yeah.
that you provided a service to someone who might not have had a good as outcome as what we would expect. So that's incredible that you're there for that service and providing what you do in our community. Gosh, well done.
It very well done. I just am so glad we connected because I think the average person doesn't realize what a lot of people go through.
No, and I always ask this question in a post-COVID world, right? Like, what are you seeing? And I know from experience at Hope House, because we do housing, evictions. We are seeing more folks with multiple evictions. We have one individual in our home now with 7 evictions.
Oh my gosh.
And she said all during COVID, every time the landlord didn't like something she did or whatever, he went to court and he did a judgment for her. And so now she has these 7 evictions, and overcoming that seems insurmountable. But it's doable. And so we keep saying, that's what hope is, right? We're gonna get to it. But so evictions, probably every call that we're getting is either a DV related case or an multiple eviction related case.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it's so great to know there is help out there.
There's always hope on the horizon. We're putting it back in the headline, Margie, you and I, one person at a time for sure. And I feel like Hannah should be her own headline of hope for our community and her team, because just a valuable resource that they provide to families who are sincerely struggling.
I can't even imagine.
It's insurmountable. I have a team at Hope House now that's new, of people that are fielding calls and answering calls. And every single day they say to me, how do you do it? The stories are gut-wrenching of what folks are experiencing. And for the first time in a long time, we're getting a lot of people showing up at our door at Hope House. And, they just are hungry.
Yes.
And out of gas money or out of, resources. So we're doing something about that. But Hannah, I'm going to have you on speed dial and your team going on in the future, because the unsurmountable. I'm like, where do we start? With some of the things that our families are servicing. But I know we're going to have to take a station break here in about 30 seconds. But when we come back, I want to again encourage folks, if they have questions. Hannah can't offer you any legal advice on the air, but she can offer you some resources perhaps, or some ideas. So if you have a need and you want to give the station a call, you can always call in. We'll be happy to take your call. And when we come back,
if you know what WSIC stands for, call in.
Margie's the giver today. She's given away all of that, and she's got me in suspense. So I hope by the end of the show she reveals what the answer is. When we come back, we're with Hannah Guerrier.
There's more Community Centered with Debbie O'Hanley and Margi Kyle on the way from 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
U.S. consumers reining in their spending. Right now, the Dow and the S&P are up a small fraction, the NASDAQ pretty much flat. Months after suspending production of its one and only model, the Ocean SUV, the EV maker Fisker filed for bankruptcy protection. And Netflix live streaming 2 NFL games Christmas Day, charging $5 million to companies for advertising packages that day, second only to the Super Bowl. Tom Busby, Bloomberg Radio.
Now, more community-centered with Debbie O'Hanley and Margi Kyle on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC. Local starts here.
Welcome back. We are excited about our guest today, Hannah Guerrier with Legal Aid of North Carolina. And I know that there's a million questions swimming in my head, as I'm sure, Margi, you have them too. But one of the things that I'm curious about, Hannah, and I'm suspecting some of our listeners might be, is what are some of your eligibility guidelines for services with Legal Aid of North Carolina?
Yes, so we have eligibility guidelines related both to income, to assets, and to citizenship. So income-wise, we represent up to approximately 187% of the poverty line, and that's by household size. Mm-hmm. So it is staggered. And similarly, we have caps with the asset levels that our clients have. And then we have our clients do need to be citizens of the United States, with the exception for our immigration cases, because those involve helping individuals get legal status.
Absolutely.
And I will say we don't have any income caps for domestic violence cases either.
Okay. So if someone was interested in connecting with you and or the services of Legal Aid of North Carolina, what would be the first step? How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So we have a central intake unit, and they are the office within Legal Aid that fields all of our intake calls, and they run through the eligibility and make sure that the case meets one of our practice area priorities, so that it is something that Legal Aid in fact does. And that number is 1-866-219-5262.
One more time.
1-866-219-5262.
Fabulous. I think that's so important that we get that out there. What kind of resources might you have to give someone when they call in, or what's available to someone seeking some guidance?
Yeah. And so even before somebody calls into us, we really encourage people to go to our website, and that's www.legalaidnc.org. And because we have such a wealth of resources there, and it's a great starting point to figure out, one, is this something that Legal Aid can help me with before I call into the intake and start going through all of those procedures? And two, what is out there that I can use myself? We have a wealth of webinars and information sessions and information sheets, FAQs on all different practice areas. So we have one for landlord-tenant issues. We have them for domestic violence issues. We have them for government benefits issues. And people can go on there and access it. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And to get those resources, that legal information that is on our website, there is no eligibility requirement.
Great.
So anybody, anywhere in the world can access that.
Wow.
That's a great place to start.
Yes, it is.
It really is, because
those videos are terrific on your website.
Thank you.
I would think some of these questions might be like common questions. You might get the same ones over and over, but by watching those resources or videos, you might get your questions answered and wouldn't have to wait for a return call or something, or an engagement with one of your intake specialists. That's amazing. What about...
And
go ahead.
I'll just add that even in addition to the cases that we take, there are cases out there that we don't have the capacity, and the practice areas that we don't have the capacity to serve. For example, we don't have the capacity to help people with simple divorces and child custody cases. But we know that is a huge need across North Carolina. And so we've created informational or instructional webinars as well as step-by-step guides on subjects like that are available on our website.
I mean, for us at Hope House, we are a teaching home model. So the fact that we could jump on a website with a client and visit some of those areas and help guide them is, to me, such a valuable resource. It's incredible. I'm thinking, Hannah, this is so incredible, but how do you get funding? How do all of your staff get paid? And, that's one question, and or two about how does the pro bono work and all of that. So if you could answer that, that'd be fabulous.
Yeah, so we are funded through a variety of sources, including there's federal funding, there's statewide funding, because both our federal and state governments realize that civil legal services are important. They're important in helping keep our communities strong and thriving, and important in protecting individual rights and leveling that playing field within the courtroom. So we do get a lot of funding through the government. We also get a lot of funding through donors. If anybody wants to donate to legal aid, you just go to our website. And I think there's a button there to donate.
You made it very easy.
We also apply for grants and get a lot of grant funding through various organizations, companies, and the like.
Great. Good news. Now, if someone starts to work with you, is that considered like pro bono work from the attorney side of things, or is there a cost associated for them?
So none of our clients are charged any fees. Wow. No legal fees. All of our services are free of charge. Our staff are paid through the organization, but we do work with a ton of volunteer attorneys across the state, particularly here in Charlotte, because we have so many of the big banks and so many of the big law firms. And so we engage with them through our pro bono project and bring them in, and they work alongside our staff attorneys in representing domestic violence survivors to get those protective orders, representing tenants in eviction court, helping seniors draft their wills. And it's really a beautiful thing, and it brings the legal community together and utilizes that power for good.
So I'm going to challenge all of our attorney friends who may be listening, or who I know, or who, Margi, you are associated with, to, if you want some feel good stuff going on in your life, reach out to Hannah and see if you can't volunteer for their services. You heard her. The need is great. They're overwhelmed with people that are in need of their services. And if you need something that you want to do to give back, I would implore you to reach out to them to see what you can give away. Because I was just reading something, I think it was a quote by Martin Luther this morning about giving away things that you need to for your community. And we need to heal Charlotte, right? We need to heal the world. And I feel like sometimes you have to start small. And so maybe if you just gave a little bit of your time or resource or network, you can make something happen. So I am going to implore all of my friends that I know that are attorneys to look into volunteering. And Margi, I know that you've got a wide reach too.
What a wonderful program for law students. To apprentice and work with you.
Absolutely. And I'm thinking of all those Davidson College fellows and all those students there that need some experience out in the real world. What a great place to be able to do some internship or follow up for them, because it would really, you could change a life by doing, something like that. And I would implore them to do that.
Yeah. I always took students when I had my design business, and I loved, one guy said, I don't ever want to do this again. But that's a lesson in itself.
That's absolutely of being able to do that. I mean, we've talked many times on this show, Hannah, about how this is such a generous community that we live in the Lake Norman area, and there's so much give back that people are doing, and we're seeing new non-for-profits pop up all the time. But I think as much as we see that, we also see the need. The need is growing exponentially, and just sometimes answering someone's question could help them sleep again.
That's right.
I'm certain of it. So we want to make sure that folks know. So what is that website again?
www.wsic.org. www.legalaid, LEGALAIDNC for North Carolina.org.
Incredible. That is awesome. So I hope if our listeners are listening that they got that and they took that down, or if they, they might know someone, they might know somebody that
That's
needs
right.
something, and
That's
to
right.
help them, reach out and get connected with Hannah and her team would be an incredible thing that we made a change happen. We put hope
Yes.
back in the headlines by introducing Hannah to our community of someone who's graciously in need of something. So awesome to know that folks like you are out there doing what you do. So, Hannah, how many attorneys are working with you?
Here in the Charlotte office, we have about 20 attorneys.
Wow.
Statewide, we have about 250.
Oh, my
But
gosh.
as you mentioned, the need is much greater than that.
I can see that. I hope I hope this
as a
worldwide
ratio
app we
thing.
have, WSIC News, the new app. My hope today is that people are listening and reach out to you and help you get engaged with some more folks, and in that turn does our community some good. So when we come back from break, we are talking with Hannah Guerrier from Legal Aid of North Carolina, and we're going to be wrapping up this amazing show that we've had today, talking about how you can get connected with them and get some help. Help is on the horizon.
It is. And what does WSIC stand for?
Margi's still out there making that happen. So we'll be back shortly, Hannah. Stay with us.
Community Centered with Debbie O'Hanley and Margi Kyle will return after this short break. WSIC.
Welcome back, listeners. We're visiting with Hannah Guerrier of Legal Aid of North Carolina. I hope that you have learned a tremendous amount of valuable stuff today. I know I have.
Yeah,
I've
scary
been a good
that
student.
there's such a need.
It truly is. And speaking of need, Hannah, give us an idea of what some of the demographics are of folks that you're serving.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, in 2023, we had over 25,000 client cases, and that impacted, because some cases impact families of multiple people, over 65,000 individuals. And amongst those served, most of our clients are Black and female, and within 0 to 125% of that poverty line. So most of them are at or below the poverty line that we see.
There's a lot of things that we can say in this post-COVID world of things that happened, right? So we saw some wages increase, which is hallelujah. That was awesome. But we also saw rents go up significantly. And I
Yes.
know for a long while there was a moratorium on evictions. So those landlords made up for that the minute that was lifted. And we're seeing extraordinary rent costs in our area. We used to be able to talk sometimes about affordable housing, but now I've changed the word personally to attainable, because it is not attainable for our families or even realistic to think that they could be living with such really high rent. So I know one of the numbers and statistics we talked about during the break was the amount of evictions that we're seeing a year here in North Carolina, which is staggering. Share that with our listeners, won't you?
So I'll give you, just for Mecklenburg County alone, there are 30,000 evictions that are filed and go through our court system every
That's
day. There are
30,000 too
four-
many.
Yeah, there are 4 courtrooms out of Mecklenburg County Courthouse that have eviction dockets every morning starting at 9 a.m.
And I'm wondering, I'm thinking about the clients that we serve and the whole eviction process, and how many of them actually understand what's really happening to them. I doubt that is a number that is probably very high of people being aware of what that whole process is. Now, I know when we do intake at Hope House, obviously that's a question we ask, but of that, people cannot answer that question. We'll say, well, was there a judgment? Did you go to court? Or do you have paperwork? They don't even know that. And so we start to do a little bit of digging with us, with some of our assistants, other programs. It's staggering what they don't know about their own situation. And that number just, it makes me sad. It makes me really
Well,
sad.
and we have about 10 attorneys that focus solely on housing out of our Charlotte office. But 10 attorneys can't cover 30,000 cases a
No.
year. So we represent and advise as many clients as we can, usually upwards of 1,000 or so cases. But we want to get the information out there to tenants. So we have tenants information sessions that we provide to the community on a regular basis. We have one coming up actually with the library virtually on next Monday at noon. So that's Charlotte Public Library. And then we have the information that is on our website so that people can get directed and find out that crucial, even just the lingo of the eviction world. That is called summary ejectment, that the landlord is the plaintiff, the tenant is the defendant, and what that looks like, what defenses are out there for them. Our goal is to get information into the hands of our neighbors so that they have that autonomy and that power that comes with knowledge. And hopefully they know that we're out there and that they can reach out to us in those situations.
And empowering them to take control of their own situation is so valuable. And I'm thinking I'm going to make some of them mandatory in our housing program, because I think that, if that's we have to be good stewards of teaching folks what those resources are and what they're up against. So again, that's a valuable resource for me, and I hope others listeners have thought of that as well.
Very eye-opening.
Mm-hmm.
Very sad.
Mm-hmm. It really and truly
Yeah.
is. I know, we're under construction on 3 new builds, and I can't build them fast enough, and I can't build them without emphasizing what they're going to do to impact families, and for a long time coming,
Mhm.
right? So our program, they can be in them for up to 2 years, and I think of what a classroom we
Yeah.
have, right? To be able
Yes.
to flip the switch in the narrative for folks that have been empowered with such resources. I imagine them now going, and I learned about legal aid of North Carolina when I was at Hope House, and now I know XYZ. I think
Yeah.
it's going to be incredible. And then, giving that information to as many people that we can, maybe putting a link on our website or, sharing that resource out here would be, I think, really important. Think of the smiles you would create, Margie, if we got some people straightened out with some information. Knowledge is power.
It is. It
And
really
powerful.
is, especially in
And
this
we-
area.
And we hope nobody ever needs us. Nobody comes to lawyers because things are going great, but we are here and we are ready to stand beside our neighbors.
And you
in
don't
that
look
courtroom
scary.
and walk that process.
You don't look scary at all.
we're not.
No, you really aren't. And I think
Well, I think you said at the beginning of the show, too, you want to work yourself out of a job.
you and me
Yes.
both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that if no one needed us, wouldn't that be
And
a
that's a
fabulous
good
place?
statement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that would be incredible if our community could recognize that, right? That if we
Yes.
could work our way out of a job,
Yep.
that would be amazing.
It would be.
So what else? You want to repeat all your contact information one more time for us, because there are folks out there listening that might not have caught that the first time.
Yes, of course. So, Legal Aid of North Carolina is out there. We are a nonprofit law firm. We provide free legal services on civil matters impacting housing, impacting domestic violence, impacting some immigration, government benefits. You name it, we probably either help advise and represent, or we have legal resources on our website about it. The caveats are we don't do criminal and we don't do traffic cases, amongst other things. So if you are interested in getting assistance from legal aid, one, I would direct you to our website, www.legalaidnc.org. Again, that's www.legalaidnc.org. And we have a wealth of resources on there. We break it up by issues. So whether that's a landlord-tenant issue or a domestic violence issue or a general family law issue or government benefits, you can go and it's pretty easy to navigate. You just hit the Get Help link. We also have listen and learn webinars that we offer on a regular monthly basis, where attorneys are live and answering questions on a variety of issues, including simple divorce, child custody, benefits, Medicaid, Medicare. And that's important because we don't represent in some of those situations, but we can provide this information to the public. And those are free and available to anybody, regardless of whether they would meet our eligibility qualifications. If after that somebody wants legal aid advice or representation, they can call our central intake unit at 1-866-219-5262. Again, that's 1-866-219-5262. And there they'll get connected with one of our intake specialists who will go through and see if it, one, is an issue that legal aid has staff to help with, and two, if the applicant meets our federal funding guidelines so that we can assist. And we assist as many as we can, but we are only the staff that we have. And
Well,
to
I
that end,
applaud
we
you for the
utilize
work that you do.
volunteers and donations.
Yes,
Those links are also on
We
that
need
website.
those as well. I don't know about you, Margie, but I have learned a lot today.
know.
And I exist in this world. So for you to teach an old dog something new, that's amazing to me. And that I have resources. I feel empowered when I have resources that I can pass on to folks who might not have access
That's
to
right.
those resources.
Yeah.
So for me, I've learned a lot, and I've been deeply educated by what you have provided to Margie and I on our show.
That's right.
It's been incredible. What else have you got for us, Margie?
Well,
I know you're hot to know the WSIC.
I know. We've had a couple call-ins, and nobody really knows what it stands for. And I must admit, neither one of us knew
Neither
either.
one of us knew. Oh.
So if you're ready,
the suspense. Drum roll.
I know, Bill, you're
have you got a
slipping
drum
on
roll?
There we go. Okay. You're not going to believe this, but WSIC stands for We Serve Iredale County.
Wow. You know what? I think that's pretty cool that we stumped our listeners.
I
And
know,
nobody called
I
in
know.
with that. So I had no idea. I've learned, my head is exploding with all the information that we've learned on today's show. But I want to thank you, Hannah, for being our guest, for the work that you and your team are doing in the community. I feel a little bit better knowing that I am armed with resources. And I know that reaching out and having you as a guest has been incredible for us. So thank you so very much for that.
Thank you.
And we
Yes.
want to wish you at the end of the year a lower evictions number and more attorneys and donations for your
Absolutely.
organization. Thank you
Wow.
again for what you do. We
What a gift.
appreciate it.
Thank you
What a
so
gift.
much.
Absolutely. Legal Aid of North Carolina. Check them out. They are incredible. Thank you so much for helping us make hope happen today. Have a great day.
Serving you back.